Remain safe during disasters such as flooding. We have in studio with us now Robert Mulaudzi. Robert Mulaudzi is from the Johannesburg Emergency Services. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Good afternoon to the viewers.
Now, what are the most important factors that one should consider during incidents such as this?
Yeah, the most important thing is that most of our residents are staying in what you call the floodline, which means that most of them are in your low-lying areas, mostly informal settlements, who are staying in the riverbanks. So what is important is that we discourage them to actually erect structures in those areas. If they are there, they need to make sure that they monitor the water levels, because normally they will get messages from, maybe it's either over the radio, on social media platform, wherever they can be able to get the messages to be able to move to the higher ground, so that, because most of the time when it rains is at night, they might not be able to, move to evacuate in those areas. So I will say that that will be the most important thing, to try and avoid putting up structures in those areas.
Yeah.
And if after the rainfall, we have received the rainfall in the last 2-3 days, the danger now is that there might be some areas where maybe there's a construction site which was left open, which might be filled now. There's river streams which might be filled now, and dams. Young kids, you might find that they are tempted to go and play in those areas. So you are likely to find situations where young kids are drowning in those areas as they go to school, or as they come back from school. They normally play next to the drainage systems. I mean, we've seen an incident in last 2 days where a young kid drowned in one of the areas which was left unattended by some construction site.
Yes.
So it's some of the things which people can do. And of course, another one is, which is most important, is the motorist also. You still find, especially your public transport, you still find motorists out there trying to take a chance, to try and cross in these areas, because you don't know what's happening inside there.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is to try and avoid these flooded bridges, flooded roads.
But in an instance where one has to travel anyway,
yes,
what are the precautionary measures?
Yeah, it's to if you see that maybe you are stranded on the road, you can park on the side of the road and try and wait for the rain to pass. And then, of course, if maybe you find yourself in that emergency situation, there are things you can do, but you need to be very much calm. For instance, if you find yourself stuck in that vehicle. Yeah,
you find that water levels are rising.
So you have to get out of the vehicle. You can use your headrest maybe to break the window and try and climb on top of the vehicle, so that maybe emergency services, when they come, they can be able to assist you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You can be able to use the safety belt to try and hold on to it as you move away from the vehicle. But that might be dangerous to somebody who's not really trained to do that. Yeah. So from me as and our colleagues within the emergency services, that we encourage our communities to be part of your community emergency response teams, because most of the emergency services, not only in Johannesburg but all over South Africa, right now we're investing a lot of energy on your community empowerment, whereby we're giving community skills. What is it that they can do when there's emergencies? So we encourage them to attend to these trainings, because most of these trainings are free. They can visit the nearest fire stations. There are B centers where they can go and be trained, so that at least when there's an emergency, they will know exactly what is it that they can do, unlike wait for...
Yeah, in terms of protecting one's property during flooding, how can you go about doing it?
Yeah, because in most of the instances, you find that the residents will erect structures in areas which they are not supposed to in the first place. So what happens is that those people are automatically already at risk, because you never know what's going to happen when there's rainfall like the ones which we're having now. So I will say that it's to make sure that you don't erect structures in those areas. You erect structures in areas which it's much more safer, when you're not going to, the visuals which you have seen in most of the cases in KZN.
Yeah, the low-lying areas.
You can see already that it's a low-lying area. So it will be important for people to evacuate, because what will happen is the South African Weather Service will issue warning messages to various municipalities maybe 2 days, 3 days before that the persistent rainfalls you are received in those areas. So what will happen is that you will issue, as a municipality, you will issue warning messages to your residents who are there, to say maybe it's now time for them to evacuate. Like for instance, here in Johannesburg, we've got over and above the information we get from the South African Weather Service, we've got like what you call automatic rainfall systems, which we have placed in those critical areas. So those automatic rainfall systems, they assist us to be able to disseminate information over and above the information we get from the South African Weather Service. And I think one more thing, Palisa, the South African Weather Service is the only institution which is authorized in South Africa to issue warning messages. So what happens is right now, I mean, there's social media platforms, people just wake up in the morning and send, wrong messages to communities, which might be confusing. So people need to make sure that they are aware of all this information.
Just in conclusion, Mulaudzi, I once read a very interesting article that talks about family disaster plan. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that, and how does one go about putting up such a plan?
Okay, in a family disaster plan, it's like a smaller plan which Palisa can do with the family members at home to say, if there is an emergency, this is the rules which you're going to use. If there's not only like your water-related emergencies, even fire emergencies. If it's a house which is built, we will know in the house that maybe one of the windows, if we can't use the normal door which we're supposed to use to get out, we will know only us, in order to prevent.
To be designed by the family and known to the
exactly.
family.
Only as we know that this is going to be our exit when there's in case of an emergency, and then we'll move to a specific designated area where all of us will be safe. That kind of information, our communities can be able to get that information if they utilize those resources which are there. Because the emergency services of today, of 2019, it's not measured by the number of emergencies which you respond to, but we are measured by the number of emergencies we prevent. Hence, we invest a lot of resources on a public education so that our residents are informed as to what is it that they can do when they see emergency. So we encourage them to make sure that they have this information so that on the day like this ones we're facing now, when they need these skills, they will be able to utilize those skills.
Just a quick one on this. There are also some mop-up operations underway in KwaZulu-Natal in the Eastern Cape. Yes. Now, what are the important steps to follow after disasters such as floods?
Yeah, because what happens now in most of those structures, so what will happen is that we advise like residents not to go back to and occupy again the structures before maybe the local fire service and disaster management officials assess the areas to confirm whether they can be able to go back there and do, because we might have like a secondary collapse of the structures which, maybe collapse earlier on. Now it actually might pose another danger to them if they move back there. So those are some of the things which they need to look at. And of course, the situations which you spoke about, now that we still have this rainfall, it means that after this rainfall, because of the water levels in most of the river streams, we are likely to have more drowning incidents, which is caused by, because most of the kids, when they go to school, most of them, they're crossing river streams, which might be dangerous for them when they go to schools.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through. All right. Robert Mulaudzi from the Johannesburg Emergency Services telling us on what one can do when you find yourself in such situations.